Hello, it's Shari here today, and I am going to be showing you how to make these Thanksgiving place cards with the gift card pop-up holder. So I'm going to be using the party animals and the party animal add-on and the gift card pop-up die. I'm also using a 4-bar rectangle that fits inside that gift card pop-up. So I've already cut a couple of those out of a cream colored cardstock. And then I'm going to cut the gift card pop-up out of this pattern paper. So I've taken a 12 by 12 sheet and I've cut it in half so it's 6 inches wide. And then I've cut that to where it's 3 inches wide. So a 6 inch by 3 inch piece is all you need to cut out this gift card pop-up shape. So I'm going to pick which side I want. I want the smaller wood grain side, and I'm just going to run that through my die cut machine. So once you get that popped out, you can just fold that along those score lines that it puts in the paper. So you're going to fold it in half at the top of that cutout, and then on the scallop sides, you're going to fold those in the other direction. So you're going to make a mountain fold for those and a valley fold for the scallop sides. Now the idea for these as name tags or place card holders came from my friend Jen Shirkus, and she saw this idea when she was teaching classes at Firefly Farm, which I believe is in Minnesota. So I am passing along the idea today to you for some Thanksgiving place cards. So I'm just going to go ahead and score these lines, and then I'm going to set that aside. And then I am going to work on the pieces that will decorate my place card. So this will just stand up like this, and then you can slide the place card right inside, just like that. Now you could cut larger rectangles if you wanted something taller. It just depends on what kind of design you want. So the idea that I had for these are, if you're going to make multiple ones for your Thanksgiving table, you probably don't want to have to do a whole lot of coloring. So I am going to be stamping my images on some colored cardstock and just doing some very simple coloring with colored pencil. That is very quick and easy and would not take a lot of time. So if you were going to make a whole bunch of these, it would be really easy to make a whole bunch for your Thanksgiving table. So I've got some narwhal cardstock here, and I'm just going to stamp out the little raccoon. He's actually my favorite of all the party animals. I'm not sure why, I just really like him the best. And then I've got my warm grays pulled out here, and then I'm also going in with a light pink color just for the inside of his ears. And because I'm doing this on colored cardstock, that pencil is going to show up really well. So you could color with Copics if that's what you want to do, but I just thought this might be a different way to kind of stretch your stamps, but color quickly by stamping on the colored cardstock. Now I'm going in with a darker gray, and I am just coloring in the little mask around his eyes. And I'm not putting too much pressure down because I don't want to lose his eyes in there. I think it's a little strange when it's all black and you can't see his eyes. So you can put down as much color as you want if you wanted it really dark and thick, but I'm just doing a really quick coloring here. And then I'm going to color some darker parts of his tail. So the rest of him is just going to be the color of the cardstock. I'm not going to do any kind of shading. Now I'm going to go in with a lighter warm gray and color his belly. And then once I have these colored, I'm just going to add some little rosy cheeks here. But once I have these colored, then you can just use the coordinating dies and easily cut them out. Now the fun part that makes them Thanksgiving, they're going to go right on the front like this, is the little accessories. So I thought I would use the same idea and stamp these on some cardstocks where you don't have to color them if you don't want to. So I'm going to stamp the little pie with some walnut ink on some craft colored cardstock. I'm also going to stamp the little wishbone in dough ink on some cream colored cardstock. And then I've got just a really small scrap of storm cloud cardstock here, but it is big enough to stamp the little pilgrim hat. So I'm going to stamp that with some black licorice ink. Now I'm not going to do any coloring on the wishbone, it's not necessary. You could color the pie plate if you wanted to, but on the hat, I'm going to go in with my darkest warm gray here and color the band, just so it's a little different than the hat and has contrast. It's really hard to see because it's so small. And then I'm going to go in with a gold yellow and just trace around the buckle so that it stands out a little better. And then of course I am going to take the tiny little dies that come in this celebration party animal set here, and it's going to be perfect to cut out all of these little pieces. So I can cut out the hat and the wishbone and the pie really easily. I'll just hold those down with post-it note tape so that they don't move around. They're very small. So now that I've got all my little pieces here, I'm just going to assemble them. And I'm just using some Ranger matte multi-medium with a little precision tip. So I'm just going to put the little hats on. I'm going to put a wishbone in one of the raccoon's hands, and then I'm going to put a pie in the other. So I decided I wanted to do another animal. So here, I'm going to stamp out the deer, and I'm going to stamp him out on that dark brown cardstock, or it's like a dark craft color. I just had this in my stash. I honestly don't know where this cardstock came from. Probably just my local scrapbook store. And I'm stamping him in some walnut ink, so he's brown on brown. I'm going to stamp out two of them. I didn't actually end up using both of them in this project for the video. I stamped out a fox on a dark orange, and you'll see that at the end in my photographs, but I did not film me coloring the fox. So I'm going in with a darker brown, just coloring his hooves, and then I'm going to color his antlers. And you could do these in a lighter brown if you wanted. It just depends on what kind of look that you want. And again, I'll go in with that pink color and do the insides of his ears. And now I've got a very light beige color, and I'm going to color the tummies the lighter color. I really like the way light colored pencil looks on darker cardstock. I think it's a really cool look. And then I've got kind of a reddish brown, and I'm going to go in very lightly and just color his head, just so there's some contrast on his face between the bottom portion where the eyes and the nose are and the top portion. So once I've got those cut out, I'm going to add the little embellishments and accessories to him so that when I have two critters on one place card, they're holding some different things. And I didn't want to put the pie in his hand because the pie is actually on the same colored cardstock. So that's why I went with the wishbone instead, so it stands out a little bit. So you could do two critters, you could do more than two critters, you could add more embellishments to it like the die cut leaves, or the possibilities are endless. So I've got some Nina Desert Storm craft cardstock here, and I cut it to 5.5 inches wide, which is the same width as the gift card pop-up. And I'm just trying to figure out about how wide I need it depth-wise to hold that up. So I'm cutting it at 1.5 inches. It would depend on how much you want to peek out from behind the scallops. So if you're doing a different color and you want to see more of it, just cut this a little wider, and it just depends on what kind of look you want. Now I'm using some double-sided tape. This is a really thin piece because I don't want any of that adhesive sticking out from behind my scallops, but you could use liquid glue to do this as well. And then I'm just going to cut off the excess that's sticking off on the sides. I'm going to crease it where I want it before I pull off the backer tape. That way I could stand it up kind of the way I wanted it to. And now I'm just going to hold these two together, make sure it's folded down right. I'm going to hold it together and line it up and stick it to this little craft card base that I've made. So unlike a card, there's no need to fold this base piece that where you're putting the gift card onto. Now I can add my little animals here. And then my gift card, excuse me, not my gift card, my place card. You could put gift cards with the place card too. I think that might be cool. We'll fit it right in there. So I'm going to be using my mini Misty here to stamp out the names using one of the alphabet sets. And I drew a little pencil line where the curve is. I stuck the card down in there, drew a very light pencil line, and that way I can line my name up above that, and so I make sure that it's spaced nicely. So the way I'm doing this here is I kind of put that middle A in first. That's the middle of my name. And I pick that up, and then I can line up the other letters against it. You could line them all up and then pick it up, but the I at the end of my name is really thin, so it didn't really stand up very well. And you didn't have to use a Misty for this either, but I used it to keep the names in the same place on all of them, because you cannot put it in the card holder and then stamp it while it's in the card holder. So you're going to have to mark some way where that curved line is. In my case, I did it on this one, and I'm going to erase it. And then after that, I knew exactly the placement on my Misty where I needed to line up the letters for the rest of the place cards. And then it will just slide in there right like that, and you could change it out if you kept them for next year. So here's a look at those a little closer. There's the little fox that I also colored. Hope you enjoyed this project. Have an amazing day and a happy Thanksgiving. Bye.